Welcome back to Raceweek Illustrated Garage Talk, and I'm joined now by Matt Weaver of SB Nation and PopularSpeed.com. We're here trackside at Gresham Motorsports Park, where we just wrapped up the 30th annual World Crown 300 here at the classic Jefferson, Georgia Speed Plant. And Matt, I've been coming to this race specifically and to this racetrack for 30 years. I have seen most of the World Crowns. This, by far, as an overall race, was the best. Let's get your take on it.
Well, I don't have the tenure for this race that you do, but just I've seen races all over the country, many different sanctions. This race was by far one of the best races I've seen from any form, any discipline. It was an A-plus race and one of the all-time best that I've ever seen.
Preston Peltier was not on anybody's radars unless you had looked at the speed charts on Friday. He was speedy, but he was quiet, and he laid back. He took care of his equipment, and in that last 100-lap stint, here he came.
Yeah, practice speeds really aren't entirely indicative. They might show you a little bit, but guys are working on so many different things. But, he's a guy that comes with credentials, former past champion. We know he's fast. It's just a matter of, can he come into almost enemy territory here in the Southern Super Series? He's not a usual. He's not running for the championship with Bubba Pollard and Augie Grill, and he took the fight to those guys and beat them, and he beat one of the best, if not the best, in the Southern Super Series in Bubba Pollard.
And let's talk about Bubba. He looked like he had the car on a rail all night, and he was on a mission. He has a bad pit stop down there. They have to push him off to get the car restarted. He starts in 10th place, and within a handful of laps, he's back fighting for the lead. And for him to lose the race the way that he did, you could hear the disappointment in his voice when we talked to him in post-race.
Well, I talked to him before the race, and I asked him point blank, is this a race that you need to finish well or even win in order to get your season back on track? And he said most certainly it is. He said that he's had so many bad things happen to him, and we forget, because he's so good, that this is a family operation. This is a very blue collar, this is a very workman organization, and it's just Bubba. And he really needed this. He was second in the championship standings. He leaves the race as the championship leader, so it's a success from that front. But this is a race that means a lot to him. This is kind of the hometown race, and it's kind of an overall success for him. You think the big picture, but I do think that he's going to wake up in the morning and maybe for the next couple of days and think this is the one that got away.
Well, when we saw him close on Peltier there at the end, he caught him and passed him in lap traffic. And as we came down to about 15 to go, he gets caught in lap traffic. He was very frustrated, voiced some frustration with lap traffic and dealing with them. And specifically, he noted in these Southern Super Series races, is this an issue, or is it just the frustration of a driver who was so close to being wearing the crown that frustration came out?
I think it's very much a situation where it's in the moment. He's going to wake up in the morning and realize that it's just racing at this track. It's a fairly new surface. There's not a lot of grip, as opposed to, more than one line. It's only that one line. And, Bubba caught Preston, made the pass because Preston was caught behind some lap traffic, and Preston got him right back 10 laps later and was able to hold him off. I'm not entirely sure that the guys weren't being respectful. They caught a huge bunch of traffic. It's not like one guy. They caught a pack of 3 or 4 guys, and you can't navigate that. And Preston was able to do it the best. He had the preferred line. He was able to use the high lines to kind of surge away while Bubba got caught on the bottom. Bubba's car was best on the bottom. He was able to work his way best through traffic to get back to the front because he was using the bottom, but it bit him at the end of the race because the lap traffic was on the bottom trying to get out of the way, and Preston was better up top.
It certainly seemed like Preston was able to work the lap traffic a lot better. In clean air, Bubba had the faster car. We were watching the monitors up there. We could see on the speed charts Bubba had the faster car in clean air, but Preston seemed to have the better handling car in the dirty air coming around that lap traffic.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things here with the super late models. There's really not a such thing as clean air. It's just, circumstance of where you catch a guy, whether it's a guy that you're racing, a guy that you're not racing. Everyone's trying to race you so hard. If you catch a guy who's on the tail end of the lead lap, he's not going to give you anything. He doesn't have to give you anything. And it was circumstance. You got down to the final 10 laps, and Preston was able to navigate traffic better, and it won him the race.
Okay, TJ Reed came in, looked very strong early, was strong actually throughout the entire event and put on a heck of a show, fighting to hold off Chase Elliott there at the end, and comes home in third. Tell us, what do we think about his run?
Well, there were two sets, I think. There was the Bubba, Augie, and Preston series. That's like your A-plus drivers. Then you have TJ and Chase, who maybe an A- or a B+, and those two guys fought really, really hard for that last podium, or the so-called podium spot. TJ's fast. TJ's won a race at Pensacola in the Southern Super Series this year and just wasn't able to get it done today. But you know, these races are long and there's so much that could happen, and he just wasn't in position. The tires, I think the tires was a big deal. Who has 4 tires, who has 2, and who's out front on the freshest tires. I think that played a big role in the outcome of today's race.
And let's talk about Chase. Chase Elliott comes in as one of the favorites, hometown track. Didn't quite have the night that he had hoped to. Didn't seem to have the car to hang in there with Bubba and with Preston. What was your take on that?
Well, I talked to Chase after the race, and I kind of asked him point blank, is your focus on the super late models as strong as it was in previous years? And he said, no, it's not. He's focusing on the K&N Pro Series East. He won a race in the ARCA Series at Pocono this year. He's doing the truck deal this year. He's got so much going on that the super late deal kind of falls by the wayside sometimes. This is a hometown race. It's a place that he has a lot of experience on. It's a race he won last year. It made a lot of sense for him to come back and try. He led some laps. He was fast. But it just, you know, the preparation wasn't there. And, you know, I think he kind of overachieved when you consider the amount of preparation they put into this race.
Okay, now you and I both put our collective feet in our mouths earlier or last week when we said that, when we talked about Augie Grill not coming to the World Crown. I posted a story on RaceweekIllustrated.com early Saturday morning that talked about that we had no notion whether he was going to show up or not, and we arrived here today, and who is here but the old 112? And he came out, looked like a rocket early on, had a little bit of bad luck with the situation with the fluid there on the red flag, and his car didn't seem as strong after that. Your thoughts on Augie's run?
Augie came into this race with a chip on his shoulder. He had the disqualification at Pensacola, and it obviously weighed heavy on him. He said he wasn't going to come back until, not to quote him, but until he was over it. And this was a race that was important to him. He wanted to win this when he came back, and he was one of the top 2 or 3 guys for sure. And he had an oil leak halfway through the race. The Southern Super Series sent him in the pits. He had to plug that, and they sent him to the very rear of the field behind all the lap down cars, and that ultimately bit him because he got into some of those guys and messed up his suspension a little bit. And it wasn't the day that I think that we thought, or even he thought, he should have had.
Okay, very quickly, you asked me last year when you came to your first World Crown, what is the big deal with the World Crown? Do you see it now?
Well, this year's race totally blew me away. I think last year Chase had the field covered, and there was just nothing anyone could do about it. But this year I think was a real showcase of what this track is like. And, this is a showcase short track. So I would say to anyone who's in the North Georgia area, the Southeast, this is a destination track, fantastic racing, super late models, any kind of racing, the local guys. I love this place. I love watching this race, and it's obviously, I think, easily one of my top 5, top 10 races all time. I had a blast.
Matt Weaver of SB Nation and PopularSpeed.com. As always, thanks, man.
Thanks, Brandon.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for us here this week on Raceweek Illustrated Garage Talk. Remember, for the latest racing news, visit us online at RaceweekIllustrated.com. You can follow us on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter. You want to contact us, shoot us an email, garagetalk@RaceweekIllustrated.com. For Matt Weaver, I'm Brandon Reed. This is Raceweek Illustrated Garage Talk, and we'll see you at the races.